Hey guys, tonight we board a Viking Longship that sails not on ocean tides, but on stardust and silence. A ship so old its wood hums with forgotten spells, its sail stitched with constellations no astronomer could name. You won't need your passport for this one, but you might want a blanket. It gets chilly drifting between forgotten realms and sleeping moons. Also, small warning, there's a 40% chance you'll meet a sea ghost who thinks you owe them rent. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment below telling me your city and the exact time you're listening. I want to know which corner of Earth you're sailing from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake to a sound that's not quite a bell, not quite a bird call, just a clear chime in the back of your mind. When your eyes open, you're already aboard the ship. It's long and lean, carved from pale driftwood that glows faintly in the dark. Stars swirl slowly above like lazy fireflies, and the sea below, well, it isn't water, it's something quieter. It ripples like melted obsidian, glinting with galaxies. Your boots thump on the deck, and the entire longship shudders, as though it, too, just woke up. You're not alone. Around you, spectral figures move about, some blurry, some sharp. None of them speak. They wear fragments of armor, half capes, bits of seaweed tangled in their braids. Some look human. One has antlers. Another might be a cloud pretending to be a person. You're not sure who you are either. Your hands know how to coil rope. Your body sways like it remembers tides that never existed. On the sail above you, the symbol of a silver star, nested inside a spiral, slowly catches wind. Not normal wind, mind you, but something like star breath. A raven lands on the rail beside you, not black, but a dusky violet, as if it were born from nebulae. It regards you with what might be mild disdain or gas. So, it says, in a voice like crushed velvet, you made it aboard. Don't die before the soup. Great. The raven talks, and possibly cooks. You glance over the edge of the ship. There's no land. There's no sky, either. Only the velvet ocean above and below, stars scattered like breadcrumbs. This is the quiet sea, according to the etching on the ship's prow. You don't remember how you got here, but somewhere deep in your bones, you know this ship has been waiting for you. According to Old Norse navigators, at least the ones who also dabbled in celestial witchcraft, the stars could be read like runes. Each pattern meant a different fate. One configuration meant good fishing, another, war. The most dangerous constellation was Vanderstillen, the wandering silence. Few saw it and lived to explain what it looked like, mostly because their ships just vanished. Guess what's above you right now? Yeah, that. Some say Viking longships weren't just ocean-going. They were interdimensional vessels, crafted with iron nails, dipped in troll's blood, and blessed by seers who could see through fog and future. This particular ship, the Quiet Star, is rumored to have been lost over 900 years ago when it tried to outrun a collapsing moon. It didn't. The moon won. But here's the twist. The ship didn't sink. It drifted into sleep, into legend, into here. Here, where star whales occasionally breach, their translucent bodies glowing faintly blue. One does so now, not far off the starboard side. The splash makes no sound, just a pulse in your chest, like a slow drum. Did you know? In Viking myth, the Milky Way was called Bilrust, the burning rainbow bridge. But lesser-known scrolls, ones banned by the Raven Order, suggest that Bilrust was actually a river that flowed between dreams. And sometimes, longships would anchor there when they had no land left to find. This might be that kind of night. You explore the deck. Near the helm, there's a journal tucked beneath a crystal sphere. The journal cover reads, Quiet Star Drift, Personal Log. It looks handwritten. You open to the first page. Day 1. The sky has stopped ticking. That's it. Thanks, ancient mariner. Very helpful. The crystal beside the journal flickers when you touch it. Briefly, your reflection shows something odd. You have no shadow, just a faint silver outline, like someone halfway erased you. Classic dream stuff. Or death. Hard to tell at this point. Suddenly, the sail creaks, catching a new breeze. The ship veers gently to port. Nobody is steering. The Raven mutters, "Ah, she chooses now." And sure enough, the ship is choosing. You can feel it, like it's sniffing the starlight, listening for something. Maybe following a call only dead ships and forgotten voyagers can hear. Down below, in the crew quarters, you find a carved panel showing a rough map. Stars for landmarks, a spiral in the center. Scribbled in the corner, in what looks like dried berry juice. Don't trust the wind that hums, it sings in lies. Naturally, the wind is humming right now. Don't panic. Probably just standard ghost ship stuff. Academics at the Astrocartography Institute. Yes, it's real. And yes, they argue constantly. Believe that ships like these follow emotional currents more than physics. That the crew's thoughts and dreams affect direction. That's why some journeys go in circles, and others vanish. You rest a hand on the rail. The ship hums back. Maybe it's asking what you want. Maybe it already knows. The stars ahead shift. A cold light peels across the horizon. No sun, but something brighter, older. A signal, maybe. Whatever it is, the ship is headed there, and you're coming with it. And you're. The light grows sharper as you drift closer. less like sunrise, more like the glint off a blade. The air smells different too, not salty or briny like sea wind. It's colder, drier, laced with the faint scent of crushed pine and ink. The ravens already perched on the prow, feathers puffed against the chill. North wind, it says, like that explains everything. She speaks tonight. Lucky you. You're not entirely sure who she is, but you've already made peace with the fact that 70% of things aboard this ship will never fully make sense. Like why the ropes coil themselves, or why the lanterns glow when you feel sad. The ship groans as it cuts into the north current, and instantly you feel it. Words, not sounds. Words. They ride in with the wind like soft murmurs, brushing against your ears, your thoughts, your ribs. They're not in English. They're not in any language you know. But somehow, deep down in the part of your brain reserved for dreams and bad decisions, you understand. The star is cracked, the drift is failing. Find the tongue that speaks no more. Cool, cryptic messages on a floating ghost boat. Classic Tuesday. According to Norse skalds, the north wind, called Njorthgaldur, was believed to be the voice of Ymir's breath, the first frost giant. Some sailors claimed that when they got lost, they could ask the wind for a path home, but only if they spoke without sound, pure thought. If they spoke aloud, the wind would curse their sails to wander forever in loops of silence. Guess what you're doing now? Exactly. Not talking, just listening. The wind howls louder, and with it comes a sudden image. Not a dream, not a vision, more like memory, but not yours. The deck under your feet flickers. You see boots, larger, fur-lined, rushing across the boards. Panic. Metal clangs. Someone screams, not in pain, but in defiance. The image disappears. Your breath comes out in clouds. The raven glances at you sideways. You felt it. She's waking you now. Who's she? You ask. He blinks. The ship, genius. You're bonded now. Congrats. No takebacks. You look around again. The longship feels heavier, like the past is pressing up through the boards. The stars have shifted overhead, and now a familiar pattern glows directly above. The rune constellation Ehwaz, often interpreted as the yew tree or endurance in the face of fate. Historically, it's also been linked to time travel, dreams, and death by falling moose. That last one is still debated by rune scholars, but the argument is wildly passionate. The ship shifts again. Ahead looms a dark shape on the water, a massive, icy landform. Jagged cliffs glint with frost, and carved into the side of the largest peak is a massive rune circle, glowing faintly blue. You squint. No, not carved, singed. The crew, the ghostly, not totally human maybe people, gather near the rails in silence, all facing that same peak. Their outlines flicker with that soft silver shimmer, like candlelight in fog. She remembers this place, the raven says, landing on your shoulder. This is where the first whisper came, the prophecy you're walking into. Wait, what prophecy? He pecks your ear lightly. Oh no, no, I spoil nothing. Makes the soup taste bad. Again with the soup. You're starting to suspect the soup is metaphorical, or cursed, or both. You lower anchor. Surprisingly, the ship obeys your intention more than your hands. The moment you want it to stop, it stops. The sail furrows like a sigh, and the ship comes to rest beside a narrow dock made entirely of ice. Ice that doesn't melt, that hums, that, okay, yup, has eyes. Very small, very annoyed-looking ice eyes. Don't step on the dock's center line, the raven warns. It's territorial. Good to know. You disembark. Your boots crunch on the ice, but the sound's weird, muted, like stepping on velvet wrapped in secrets. You climb the path toward the rune circle, heart thumping. The closer you get, the more the wind pushes against you. Not to stop you exactly, more like it's scanning you. A test? A memory check? You press your hand to the glowing runes. Cold burns your palm instantly, but you don't pull back. Instead, you lean into it, and that's when the stone speaks. Not with words, but images. You see the ship in its prime, golden sail full of real wind, a living crew, shouting, laughing, wrestling fish twice their size onto the deck. You see them sailing into a storm of stars, led by a young woman with silver eyes and a sword carved with constellations. You see her vanish. You see the ship lose its path. And then you see yourself standing on the same deck, repeating the same journey, and behind it all, a whisper that curls around your soul like frostbite. The silence returns. Find the broken star. Fix the tongue. You step back, gasping. The runes fade. Did you know? Viking runestones weren't just memorials. Some were believed to be song anchors, echoes of voices trapped in stone, singing long after the speaker died. Scholars call this theory historically dubious. The witch community calls it Tuesday. The wind dies down. You turn to look back at the ship. She's waiting. Her sail now inked with a faint new mark. a second spiral, looping inside the first. You've started it, the raven says. Started what? Unfreezing the prophecy, one piece at a time. You climb back aboard. The ship lifts anchor, and the north wind laughs, very softly, like it knows more than it should. There's a moment, just a moment, when everything goes quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but too quiet, like someone pressed mute on the universe. No creaking wood, no humming wind, no ghost footsteps. Even the stars seem to pause their slow swirl above you. Then the silence breaks. Thrum. It's deep, low, like a distant heartbeat echoing through the hull. The longship shudders, as if remembering something it really didn't want to. You stumble, grabbing the mast. The ghost crew barely reacts. They're used to this. The raven just sighs. Oh, good. She's noticed the current. The current? You ask. It points a wing overboard. You follow its gaze and squint into the star-dark sea. There, beneath the surface, flickering threads of pale green and violet light, like auroras twisted into ropes, pulse with a strange rhythm. Not water, not magic, something in between. An undercurrent of thought, the raven says. Not all seas are made of salt. Some are made of memory. Of course. Because why wouldn't the ocean be sentient and slightly judgy? You're officially sailing into what scholars have awkwardly dubbed the reflective rift, a rare oceanic phenomenon mentioned only in marginalia of obscure Viking dream scrolls. Supposedly, this current leads to forgotten places, thoughts that were never completed, half-sung lullabies, ideas that went extinct before they were understood. The ship follows it willingly, maybe eagerly. Below deck, the quiet is thicker. You descend a narrow stairwell lit by lanterns that flare up when you look at them. The air smells like damp parchment and crushed herbs. You pass rooms that seem bigger on the inside. One holds a frozen thunderstorm in a bottle. Another echoes like it misses someone. There's a room with only a chair and a single boot. You do not open that door fully. Then you find it. A chamber of glass. Well, not real glass. More like crystallized mist, shifting with your movement. At the center, floating above a stand of coral and gears, is a sphere. The same kind that pulsed when you read the journal earlier, but this one's active, humming, projecting images in the air like memory bubbles. You touch it. The room warps around you. Suddenly, you're not on the ship. You're in a memory, but one not quite yours. You're standing at a council of robed figures, all faceless, arguing without mouths. One gestures to a star map, pointing to a spiral that matches the rune on your ship's sail. Another draws a line through the spiral, snaps it. They all freeze. Then you hear the phrase, "Dark tides are not always dark by nature, but when they remember, they drown." Cryptic much? The vision fades, and you're back in the crystal room. The raven is now perched upside down on the ceiling, grooming itself. You touched the anchor node, it says, between beakfuls of feather. She's letting you peek. She? The ship. Who else? You think I've got memory bubbles lying around? You sit back on a crate that somehow sighs when you put weight on it. There's a mural etched into the floor beneath you, barely visible at first, but it starts glowing as your thoughts settle. It's a map, or at least a representation of something trying really hard to be a map. There's no compass, no scale, just swirling shapes, fragments of runes, and jagged paths shaped like cracks in a mirror. Dead center is a symbol you now recognize, the double spiral. Next to it, in trembling script, this is where the star broke. Quick magical trivia break. There's an obscure Icelandic folktale about the star tongue, a mythical rune said to grant speech to the unspeakable, wind, stone, dreams, and even ships. Most scholars write it off as poetic nonsense. The magical community? Well, let's just say half of them think it's real, and the other half keep suspiciously quiet. Guess where you're headed? Yup, Star Tongue territory. You return to the deck. The longship is already adjusting course. The star map above you has changed again. Now, directly ahead, hangs a massive cluster of lights that don't twinkle. They flicker, like a broken signal. You're told, by no one in particular, that this is the Flicker Sea. Sailors don't come here unless they have to. Too many truths, too few exits. Also, rumor has it that somewhere in the Flicker Sea is a creature known only as the Listener. You ask the raven about it. It pauses. Don't talk about that out loud. You lower your voice. What is it? A thing that hears what isn't said. A collector of silences. It's harmless, unless you lie. I lie all the time. Oh, I know. The ship slides into the Flicker Sea, and instantly you feel lighter. No, not just lighter. Like parts of you are lifting off. Memories you didn't know you had bubble up and float away like soap film. That time you lost your favorite notebook. The dream about a hallway of ticking clocks. The smell of your childhood attic. They're not gone exactly, just borrowed. A few of the ghost crew flicker brighter here, like they remember more in this sea. One of them walks past you and mouths the words, "He's listening now." Great. You grip the rail and whisper to yourself, "Don't lie, don't lie, don't lie." The wind finishes for you. You freeze. Did you just fail the listener's vibe check? No response. But the ship drifts slower now. Not a halt, just caution. It knows. It's waiting to see what you'll do next. You take a breath. Not everything in this place wants to destroy you. Some of it just wants you to remember. So you close your eyes. Let the memories flow. Think of the ship, the crew, the strange map, the spiral, the prophecy. And in the distance, very faintly, you hear it. A sound. Not a voice. A hum. Soft and rhythmic. Like someone trying to remember how a lullaby ends. The lullaby follows you into your dreams. Or maybe you're not dreaming at all. Hard to say when you're on a floating, time-displaced memory ship that hums to itself and occasionally gives you prophetic migraines. You wake on the deck again, not quite sure when you fell asleep. The stars are different, closer. Some of them pulse in soft blues and golds, like fireflies just barely restraining themselves from spelling out a message. The ship is no longer moving. You glance over the side. Water, or whatever this sea is, has turned still. Not calm still, mirror still. It reflects everything. The ship, the sails, you. But not exactly. Your reflection isn't quite synchronized. When you tilt your head, it doesn't follow. It just stares at you. Then it smiles. Nope. Absolutely not. The raven lands beside you, eating something suspiciously bone-shaped. Ah, you've met your echo. Don't worry, it's mostly harmless, unless you ask it a question. You turn slowly. And what happens if I do? It answers. That's not so bad. Wrong. It answers truthfully. You step back from the rail. You're not ready for that kind of emotional damage at sea. This, as it turns out, is the echoing waters, a magical zone known only to night-bound navigators and a particularly confused class of sea gnomes. According to a heavily contested page in the Voyager's Codex of Impossible Tides, the echoing waters form when magic pools too densely in one place, usually where someone powerful lost something important, or someone unimportant became too powerful too fast. Happens all the time. Below the ship, the reflections ripple once, and then begin to change. Instead of mirroring the sky, the sea now displays images, flickering, fragmented, like a scrying pool hooked up to a fever dream. You see yourself, but different, older, wiser, wearing armor that glints like it was hammered from frozen lightning. You're holding something, a shard of starlight. No, not a shard, a tongue. A silver curling sliver that vibrates in your hand like it wants to speak, but forgot how. The tongue of the broken star, the raven murmurs. She's showing you. Is that me? Maybe, maybe not. Reflections are messy. Sometimes they show futures. Sometimes fears, sometimes last Tuesday's bad decisions. You squint at the image again. In it, your future self is arguing with someone, a tall, masked figure standing in front of a shattered star map. You can't hear them, but the body language says everything. Betrayal, desperation, that whole "you were supposed to be on my side" vibe. The reflection shatters. Ripples spread out. The sea returns to stillness. No more visions. Just you, the ship, and the quiet. It's then you notice something odd. A sound. Faint, rhythmic tapping from beneath the deck. Not like footsteps, more like typing? The Raven hops nervously. Oh no, not that room. You raise an eyebrow. There's a typing room? Ignore it. It's just the chronicler. She gets antsy when someone touches the echo. Naturally, you do not ignore it. You descend again, the tapping growing louder. You follow it to a small circular door with an inscription. Entry requires a truth. You pause, think, then whisper, I'm not sure who I was before this voyage. Click. The door opens. Inside, you find the chronicler, or rather, a figure made of parchment, floating quills, and a flickering candle for a face. Pages rustle when she moves. There's no chair. She is the desk, the ink, the room. She doesn't look at you, but gestures. You step forward. A sheet of parchment hovers in the air, words inked across it, as if by invisible hand. The tongue was shattered not by violence, but by silence too deep to echo. Find the fragments. Forge a voice that cannot be stolen. Another page flips. The listener waits, not to stop you, but to see if you finish what he couldn't. You ask, who is he? This time, the chronicler does look up. The candle flickers once, sharply. She points to a map on the wall. You recognize it. It's the cracked spiral again. But now, there are markings. 3 small circles. One is glowing faintly. The second pulses slowly. The third, dark. You're at the first. And the next fragment? It lies beneath something called the sunken mirror. Before you can ask what that means, the chronicler waves her quills dismissively and disappears in a flurry of fluttering pages. Back on deck, you relay what you saw to the Raven. It listens silently, then sighs. Of course it's the mirror, because why wouldn't it be in the one place that doesn't like being looked at? The mirror doesn't like being seen? No, it reflects only what you ignore. That's its curse. You swallow hard, because you already know what you've been ignoring. A memory that's not part of the ship, or the sea, or the prophecy, but part of you. A door in your mind you've refused to open. Maybe that's why the ship brought you here. Not to escape the silence, but to face what created it. The sails shift again, catching wind that wasn't there a moment ago. The stars above you rearrange themselves into a perfect circle, and in the distance, the sea gleams, flat as glass, dark as regret. The mirror is calling. Time to answer. You don't feel the ship move, not really. 1 minute you're watching the stillness, the next, you're already in it. The sea has transformed into pure reflection, smoother than any surface you've seen. Even your breath feels muted, like the air's been hushed by something ancient and easily offended. The crew doesn't speak. They're tucked away in shadowy corners of the ship, their forms barely visible. Even the raven's unusually quiet, sitting on the rigging and preening with deliberate slowness. That's never a good sign. The longship slides forward as if it's skating over glass, leaving no wake. Beneath you, your reflection watches with unsettling patience. It no longer mirrors you. It studies you, like it knows what's coming, and it's betting you won't like it. This is the sunken mirror. Not a place exactly, but a boundary. A barrier between what was buried and what refuses to stay buried. You already feel it pressing in. The memory. It starts with a smell. Not sea air or spell smoke, but petrichor and warm cloth. A home, a cabin, somewhere quiet. Someone laughing. A small personal laugh. Like you just told a bad joke, and they're trying to spare your feelings. You can't remember who they are, only how they made you feel. Then comes the ache. You grip the rail. The ship groans underfoot. The stars disappear. One by one, they blink out above you until there's nothing but a deep black void stretching in every direction. The only light comes from below, the mirror sea now lit with ghostly images, like memories bubbling up through a frozen pond. You see a child chasing fireflies through a snowfield, a tall figure offering you a key made of ice, a door closing, slowly, regretfully. Your reflection on the surface doesn't mimic you anymore. It stands on the ship deck, looking back at you, and then it speaks. You left me behind. The voice doesn't come from outside. It comes from inside your bones. The ship stops. The raven flutters down and lands near your foot, dead silent. You have to go, it finally says. Down there, into the mirror. Alone? It won't open if you're not. You hesitate. Did you know? In ancient satyr magic, mirrors weren't just for seeing, they were for undoing. Viking witches believed that reflection was a test of worth, that a soul not ready to face its echo would shatter like ice on the fjord. The sunken mirror doesn't take you by force. It invites. So you step to the edge of the ship, kneel, and reach out. The moment your fingertips touch the surface, it pulls you under. Not violently, almost politely, like water with manners. You descend through layers of memory and light, passing fragments that drift like dream flakes. A laugh, a map, a spinning coin, a book you never finished reading. At the bottom lies a chamber, not stone, not wood, just light. Pale, blue-white, pulsing softly, forming vague walls around a central pedestal. Upon it rests a shard of silver, a thin, elegant curve shaped like the edge of a crescent moon. It hums like it's breathing. You know immediately what it is. A fragment of the star tongue. You reach for it, but the moment your hand hovers above it, a voice rumbles through the chamber. Not loud, not angry, just disappointed. You forget because you chose to. A shape materializes behind the pedestal, not monstrous, not demonic, familiar. It looks like you, but tired, worn out by remembering. This is your echo, the real one, not a mirror trick, not a sea hallucination. This is the part of you that stayed behind when you chose not to feel something, not to grieve, not to speak. I waited, it says. I didn't know, you reply. You did, but it hurt. You step forward. The closer you get, the heavier the water feels, like guilt pressing on your skin. Why now, you ask? Because the silence is cracking, and I still remember how you used to speak. It gestures to the fragment. You take it. It's warm. Instantly, your head floods with voices, not speech, not language, just intent. The sound of a story begging to be told. The first shard of the tongue is now yours, and you feel it settle into your mind like a key dropped into the right lock. Back on the ship, you surface gasping. The raven's waiting. No screaming? Huh. I owe the ghost in the soup pot 5 silver. You collapse onto the deck. Overhead, the stars flicker back into view as if someone turned the sky back on. But now, there's a difference. A single new star, glowing faintly violet, has appeared on the spiral map burned into the sail. Piece 1, the raven says. 2 to go. You don't speak right away. You're still shaking. Not from fear, from remembering. You didn't just recover a piece of the prophecy. You recovered a piece of yourself. There's an old magical theory, still argued about in the shadier corners of rune forums, that the real power of the star tongue isn't control or command. It's the ability to name what was forgotten, to give voice to silence. That's what you're doing now, naming your silence. And slowly, the longship begins to move again, turning toward the next spiral on the map. The reflection fades, but the memory stays, and the sea is listening. The sea darkens again, not in a menacing way, just the way a theater dims before the next act begins. Overhead, stars adjust their positions, like stagehands shuffling scenery. Even the sail groans faintly, creasing to catch a new wind you can't feel, but somehow know is there. You're still clutching the first shard of the star tongue. It hums against your chest like a heartbeat that doesn't quite belong to you yet. Next stop, says the raven, with all the dread of someone announcing a surprise dental appointment. The Shrine of the Sleeping Names. That sounds lovely until he adds, it's built on the back of something very, very old, and very, very not asleep. You squint. You mean like a sea turtle? No, like a thought that grew teeth and decided to stop cooperating. Comforting. The wind shifts again. This time, the ship doesn't sail so much as tilt forward. Not steeply, just enough for your stomach to remember its contract and file a minor complaint. The sea begins to glow from below, not stars, not reflections, something else. You lean over the railing and see them. Names, carved into the ocean floor itself, glowing in pale blue letters the size of cities. Thousands of them, etched into the seabed like a giant celestial guest list. Some are still legible. Others have been worn smooth, like someone tried to forget them too hard. One of them is your name. At least, you think it is. You feel it more than see it. A tug in your gut, like an emotional sonar pinging through water. The ghost crew stands in silent formation near the mast, their shimmering forms flickering brighter. You wonder if they can see their names too. Maybe that's how they ended up here. Maybe the ship finds people when they forget who they are. The raven hops onto your shoulder again, far too casual for what he says next. Fun fact: names carved down there were meant to be remembered by the stars. That's how the ancient navigators believed direction was determined, by memory, not math. If the stars forgot you, you got lost. You mean literally? Oh yeah, existentially even. Great for losing your enemies, not great for, your entire sense of self. As if to emphasize the point, the ship slows and shudders. A new structure rises from the depths, a colossal stone spire, barnacled and radiant with old, pulsing glyphs. At the top is a platform, floating, waiting, the shrine of the sleeping names. You disembark alone, of course. The platform is silent as you walk. Runes flicker beneath your feet, reacting to your presence. Some shine brighter, others dim, like they're judging you, or just remembering. At the center of the shrine sits a pool, not water, but liquid memory. It swirls in slow spirals, glowing gold at the edges and darkening toward the center, like the eye of some very polite hurricane. Hovering above it is the second shard, wider than the first. This one is flat, shaped like a tongue pressed against silence. It floats lazily, humming in a harmony that makes your ribs vibrate. You don't reach for it yet. There's a voice, but it's not spoken aloud. It speaks inside your name. Yes, your name. Not your ears, not your brain. Your name hears it, feels it, like someone's calling you from the far side of being known. Before you hold the second piece, name the name that you buried. You know what it wants, not a password, not a riddle, a memory. So you speak. A name, soft, almost a whisper. Someone you once loved and then forgot, or tried to. A friend, a sibling, a part of yourself that stayed behind when everything started to unravel. You speak the name, and the pool flares to life. The shard lowers into your hands without resistance. This one burns. Not painfully, but honestly. It lights up something inside you you've spent a long time trying not to look at. You're shaking when you return to the ship. The raven doesn't say anything this time. It just watches. And in the sky above, a second violet star ignites beside the first. 2 down. But now, things shift. The sky begins to twist. Not spin. Twist. Like a piece of fabric being wrung out. A ripple spreads from the sails, warping the horizon. The ghost crew vanish below deck. Even the raven flies up to the mast and crouches low. What now? You ask. That, it says, is the listener waking up. Oh no. You remember what it told you before. The listener hears what isn't said. Suddenly, the silence around you is too loud, like it's listening to your heartbeat, your thoughts, that cringy thing you said in 5th grade. It knows. You grip the 2 shards tightly. They hum together, and in your mind, a phrase forms. When 3 tongues speak as one, the silence must answer. You're halfway there, and the listener knows it. The sky distorts again. Somewhere far ahead, you sense it. A presence not bound by time or direction. Watching, waiting. Not hostile, but vast and unbearably patient. You need to move fast, the raven says. Before it asks you a question you can't survive answering. You turn to the sail. The 3rd spiral is glowing now. The final fragment lies in a place the map simply calls the inverted star. And the longship begins to drift once more toward a horizon that folds inward, like a page turning itself. The horizon doesn't rise to meet you this time. It folds, like parchment creasing under invisible hands. The stars above shift uneasily, as if reluctant to witness what comes next. The longship tilts forward again, but not downward. No, this time the ship is climbing? Yeah, you're sailing up the sky now. The water, if you can still call it that, blurs beneath the keel, giving way to layers of starlight stacked like atmospheric wallpaper. You pass through clouds that hum lullabies in minor chords. Lightning flashes inside one, spelling out words in ancient runes. Here be mirrors with teeth. You don't ask. You just hold the 2 shards of the star tongue close, one pulsing like breath, the other thrumming like music played backwards. Together, they make a sound not meant for ears, one you feel in your teeth and somewhere deep behind your eyes. The raven flutters beside you, noticeably less snarky than usual. You sure you want the 3rd one? It asks quietly. Some things get harder to forget once they have a voice. Isn't that the point? It shrugs. You'd be surprised how many adventurers quit right before the final note. Sometimes silence is easier to live with than what's buried under it. Before you can reply, the ship breaks through. Not a barrier, exactly. More like the bottom of a thought. You're suddenly in a place where gravity doesn't work the way it used to. The stars above are now below. The sky beneath your feet is upside down. Your body still nose down, but it's purely symbolic at this point. Welcome to the inverted star. You've entered a place that looks like the inside of a concept. Nothing has edges here. Everything shimmers just a little too much. The ship drifts across a void where time folds in on itself like napkins at a wizard's dinner party. The only landmark, a glowing spiral tower of soft white light, twisting endlessly into a black hole that isn't devouring, it's remembering. The ghost crew doesn't follow. They stay frozen, flickering like candle flames on pause. Even the ship itself groans, wood trembling like a person who just remembered the end of a nightmare. You step off the deck. Your feet don't touch anything. You just go forward. No wind, no sound, just the constant hum of meaning, like the air is made of unfinished poetry. You reach the base of the spiral tower. It's not made of stone, but braided stories, ribbons of whispered voices twisting upward in an endless chant. You recognize some of the voices. That teacher who believed in you when you didn't. That person you lost touch with but still think about at midnight. Your own voice, younger, asking, "What happens if I don't speak?" The third shard waits halfway up, floating in the middle of the spiral, held in place by nothing but memory. It's not shaped like the others. It's fractured, broken, but not ruined. The edges glow. It looks like a sentence mid-collapse. You reach for it, and that's when it speaks. The listener. No voice, no tone, just absence that demands response. What have you kept silent that should have been spoken? The question doesn't come from outside. It blooms in your gut, wraps around your ribs, and coils behind your tongue. You want to answer. You don't want to answer. The third shard pulses, sensing your hesitation. You feel every word you've ever swallowed down, every apology unsaid, every goodbye skipped, every truth left out to avoid pain. They surge behind your eyes, hot and aching. And then you speak. One sentence, not long, not poetic, but honest. You say the thing you should have said, not to a stranger, not to the listener, to yourself. The spiral tower flares bright, and the third shard snaps into your hand like a puzzle piece falling home. All three shards resonate in unison now, and for the first time, you hear the tongue, not as language, but as command of presence, the ability to give shape to what has no form. A spell not for power, but for acknowledgement. Suddenly, the inverted star begins to collapse. Not in panic, more like a job well done. The spiral unwinds. The stars reorient. The ship sails to your side, catching you midair like it was always meant to. You land gently on the deck. The ghost crew returns, brighter now, more solid. The Raven? He's doing backflips in the rigging and screaming, "Ha! You lived. I owe nobody anything. Suck it, soup pot." The sail ripples. The sky folds back into itself. And for the first time, the longship knows exactly where it's going. Not drifting anymore. Navigating. You glance at the sail. All 3 spiral marks now glow. In the distance, something vast stirs. Not the listener, something older. The prophecy is near completion, and the ship is racing toward the place it all began. You're no longer drifting, you're gliding. The ship cuts through the night with purpose now, like a thought sharpened into certainty. The stars don't just watch you anymore, they align. Not for fate, not for prophecy, for you. The sail thrums with magic, now bearing 3 glowing spirals, each representing a recovered shard of the star tongue. Together, they pulse in rhythm with the ship's motion, like heartbeat and breath synchronized. The ghost crew is different too. Not just more solid, more awake. One of them hums softly, an old lullaby that makes your fingers twitch, like they're remembering a childhood you never had. Another knots ropes with such confidence, it's almost like they know you're finally headed home, except you're not sure what home even means anymore. The Raven lands on your shoulder, uncharacteristically quiet for a few seconds. Then, you did it. Most don't make it this far. Some get scared. Others, they remember the wrong things. You glance at him. And now? He looks toward the horizon, suddenly solemn. Now we finish it. Ahead, something enormous rises. Not land, not sky. A door. Carved from starlight and woven fog, it towers over the sea like a cathedral built by silence itself. It doesn't swing or open. It unfolds, petal by petal, layer by layer, each panel covered in shimmering runes that resist being read unless you squint just wrong. This is the threshold of names, the place where the star tongue was first spoken and first broken. According to some magical historians, and one very stubborn goat witch, this place existed before the concept of place existed. It is when, not where, a fragment of time so dense, reality had to grow a door just to keep it from leaking. You step forward. The sea beneath the longship vanishes. Yes, vanishes. The ship now sails across air so thick it hums. You're not floating. You're supported, like belief is holding you up by the elbows. As you approach the door, the shards in your chest vibrate harder. They don't want to be shards anymore. They want to be whole. The ghost crew assembles at the bow, silent and waiting. The ship slows, halts before the final threshold. You disembark, again, alone. The moment your foot touches the platform, the air around you tightens, like you've stepped into a pause between two very long, very important sentences. Before you stands an altar. Upon it, a shallow bowl of polished obsidian filled with water that doesn't ripple, just reflects. Hovering above it, a whisper. Yes, an actual whisper, held in mid-air like a silk ribbon caught mid-dance. You can't hear it, but it vibrates in your ribs like it's trying to remember how to speak. This is what the shards were protecting. You draw them from your chest. One by one, they melt into light. First, the curve of breath, then the tongue of memory, and finally, the fractured thought. Together, they spiral into the whisper, and for a single moment, the silence around you doesn't end. It answers. You hear the tongue again, but this time, it isn't alone. It speaks with you, not to you. It tells you what you've always known, but never let yourself say. The silence was never your enemy. You just needed to listen long enough to recognize your own voice inside it. The bowl of obsidian flares with light. The whisper solidifies, and in your hand now rests the complete star tongue, a ribbon of silver light, soft as air, strong as truth. The final step is yours. You turn back toward the ship. The ghost crew parts for you. They recognize the tongue. Some bow. One salutes. Another just weeps. The raven flutters up, eyes wide, almost reverent. You're gonna use it, right? You're not one of those people who collects artifacts and files them under emotional growth, are you? You smirk. Watch me. You step to the helm and raise the tongue. The ship responds. The sail ignites with runes. The hull glows. The water, wherever it went, returns in waves of soft gold and pale lavender. The ship begins to move, but not forward, up into the stars themselves. They open for you, not metaphorically, like curtains or a long-awaited sigh. And then you speak, not aloud, through the tongue. And what you say is this: I remember. The longship doesn't explode. It doesn't disappear. It transcends. It becomes something more than a ship, a memory made mobile, a vessel for those who still need to find what they've forgotten. And somewhere deep in the sea, the listener hears your voice, and he smiles, not because you obeyed prophecy, but because you finished your sentence. You're not flying. You're gliding through time, not metaphorically. The stars around you rewind and pause, constellations shifting into ancient formations, some not seen for 1,000 years, some never recorded at all. The Longship, no longer bound by the ocean's moods or the moon's rules, now sails through a sea made of moments, moments you've never lived, but somehow remember. The ship leaves trails of light behind it, ribbons of memory spun from the star-tongue's song. Every thread that spills into the sky knits together what was broken, not just in the prophecy, but in you. And, let's be honest, maybe in the entire multiverse. No pressure. The Raven is flying beside the ship now, winging through time like it forgot gravity was ever a thing. You broke the seal, he says, casual like someone announcing a new bagel flavor. The sentence has been spoken. The star listens again. You glance at the helm. The wheel turns itself. Where are we headed now? Back, he says. Back where? He flutters his wings. To the beginning of the prophecy, where the drift started, where the star broke. You feel it before you see it. A pull, like gravity, but more emotional. Like nostalgia mixed with homesickness for a place that might never have existed. Ahead, space folds once more, revealing a colossal structure unlike anything you've seen. A longship graveyard, but not dead, not abandoned, preserved. Hundreds of vessels, frozen mid-drift, suspended in threads of broken time. Some covered in vines of stardust, others cracked open like eggshells, leaking magic and old regrets. And at the center, the first longship, older than myth, its hull carved with runes that no living tongue has dared translate. Its sail in tatters, fluttering in a wind that doesn't exist anymore. Its nameplate scorched clean, erased. This is where the quiet star began, where the prophecy was whispered for the first time, where the silence won, just once, long enough to bury a truth so deep it forgot itself. The ship slows. You disembark. The Raven perches on the mast, saying nothing now. This is your moment. You step into the ruins of the first longship. It feels like stepping into the hush after a funeral. Everything here is soft. Echoes linger longer than they should. The boards creak with ancient memory. In the center of the deck is a pedestal. On it, a simple scroll. No glitter, no runes. Just a rolled up piece of quiet. You approach it, unroll it, and see your own handwriting. Yeah, that's new. You read. If you're reading this, then you finally learn to listen. The silence wasn't trying to stop you. It was waiting. Because some things can't be spoken until the right voice finds the right moment. You are the final word of a sentence that took centuries to write. Beneath it, a line. Now, Speak the world into being. The star tongue flares in your hands. It wants to build. You look around the shipyard, the fractured longships, the faded constellations, the dim stars that once knew your name. You raise the tongue, and for the first time, you don't use it to remember. You use it to create. You speak a single word, something soft, something that means hope in no language and every language all at once. The world responds, stars brighten, time rewinds, just enough. Ships slowly begin to right themselves, floating free of the graveyard. The vines retreat. The cracked hulls seal. The sails lift. Your own longship glows, the spirals on its sails spinning with gentle rhythm. The ghost crew steps forward, not ghostly anymore, just luminous, recognizable, human almost. One of them gives you a nod, like they remember you now. Maybe they always did. The raven lands beside you and lets out a slow, low whistle. "Well, kid," he says, "you just rebooted a prophecy and probably gave 5 wizard universities a collective aneurysm." You smile. It feels easy now. Right. You return to your ship. The crew moves aside, not because they have to, because they trust you. The ship turns, not toward home, not toward war, toward a future that isn't written yet, because now you carry the star tongue, and in a world full of silence, that means you can speak what needs to be spoken, one word at a time. The sea returns, if it was ever really gone. Not just any sea, though. The quiet sea, reborn, still shimmering with stars, still laced with drifting light and unspeakable calm. But now it's awake. The silence no longer feels heavy or hiding. It's listening, and it listens to you. Your longship, now glowing with full memory, carves a gentle path across the surface. You stand at the bow, the star tongue gently coiled around your hand like a living ribbon of silver light. It no longer hums like it's searching. It sings. A low, quiet melody. The ghost crew, now more crew than ghost, move naturally, some smiling, some whispering names they once forgot. One of them walks past you, softly tapping the side of the ship. The wood responds. You swear it. Purrs. The raven, for once, is silent, which is honestly more alarming than comforting. You give him a look. "What?" he finally says, ruffling his feathers. "You just rewrote cosmic grammar. I'm processing." You chuckle, but the weight of what you carry settles in your chest again. Not heavy, just present. The star tongue isn't an artifact. It's a responsibility. A key that unlocks silences, yes, but also the doors those silences were protecting. You turn your gaze to the horizon. A shape waits in the distance. At first, it looks like a storm, then a mountain, then a face. It's none of those things, and all of them. The air around it shimmers like heat, though it's cold. Stars avoid it, or perhaps respect it. This is the listener, not a monster, not a god. Something in between, a being born from the spaces between words, the pauses in stories, the breath before an answer. Old, impossibly old. You don't approach it. It approaches you, not quickly, not dramatically, just surely. The wind dies, the ship stops, and you feel it, pressing not on your skin, but on your intention, like a test, but without judgment. The listener doesn't demand. It asks, "What now?" You stand taller, because you know the answer. Not everything you'll do, not every spell you'll cast or sentence you'll speak, but the direction. You raise the star tongue once more, and with it, your voice. I will remember. I will speak what others cannot, and I will make sure nothing sacred is buried by silence again. The listener shimmers, then vanishes, peacefully, like a candle winking out in a room full of stars. Just like that. No fanfare, no reward screen, just quiet. The kind that feels earned. The ship turns itself again, not toward prophecy. That part's done. Now it turns toward possibility. And the ghost crew cheers, some politely, some with full-on, "We just won the intergalactic boat championship" energy. One of them plays a flute made from drift bone. Another tosses glowing sea dice across the deck. The raven flaps up and lands on your shoulder again, humming the melody of the tongue like a tune it almost forgot. "So," he says, "you gonna write this down, or just let the universe figure it out?" You grin, maybe both. Because some stories are better when they're told out loud, and some, well, some are meant to be lived. Your longship sails on, stars parting ahead of you. You don't know where it'll go next, but this time, that's the whole point. You're no longer chasing a prophecy. You are the storyteller now. The wind is slower now, gentler. The kind that drifts through curtains on a late night when everything is quiet except your breathing. The longship glides across stardust waters, the sails folded in soft rhythm, like they're exhaling with you. You sit on the deck, wrapped in a blanket that wasn't there before, but feels like it's always been waiting for this moment. The stars above no longer whisper riddles or warnings. They simply shine, like they're watching you sleep with the kind of patience only ancient light can manage. Somewhere below, you hear the crew humming again. Not to summon anything, not to break a curse, just because they can. The raven is dozing on the rail. Every few seconds, it lets out a soft, contented snore that sounds suspiciously like a giggle. You don't wake it. You just sit there, eyes heavy now, body swaying gently with the motion of the ship. And for the first time, you don't feel the need to remember, or explain, or fix anything. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. The story isn't over, but for tonight, it can rest, and so can you.